Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler. I'm going to talk about tonight's game. This Tyson Bagent guy, he's not a bad quarterback. This is a Division II undrafted free agent. And, every game, this will be his third start. He's played in 4 games, fourth start, 2 losses, 1 win over the Raiders. Very close loss last week against the Saints. I think they'll win tonight. I'll talk about him and Justin Fields tonight, preview that game. Plus, Thursday, give you points against the spread. My 5 games against the NFL spread. Recap last week with that. Also, Caleb Williams. Some more red flags about Caleb Williams. Talked about him last night with Keith Fingal. Go over that as well. A few notes here on Sam Howell, Deion Sanders, and everybody. So first, let's go ahead and get our first and only break out of the way. I'll be back in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on SportsScope, folks. Hello, SportsScope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and SportsScope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. Alrighty then, I'm back here live. I want to thank, again, Keith Fingal for coming on last night. Great guest. Man, listen to the playback there. I'm going to have to cut that up at some point and get some clips out to you all to get a chance to do that today. But this Tyson Bagent and Justin Fields situation, Justin Fields won't play tonight. Bagent, like Pickle says, won a Division II Heisman Trophy, undrafted. I was reading he had a 1.4% chance of ever playing down in the NFL or starting a game. Now he's started multiple games. He's, he kind of reminded me when he was playing well of a Colin Kaepernick type of player. Very good speed, poise. When Kaepernick was first playing with Jim Harbaugh there, had 70 yards rushing last week. His completion percentages in the NFL, right at 70%, very high. Like Pickle says, Division II Heisman Trophy winner. This guy's a very long shot to make it. His dad's like an arm wrestling champion. I want to say friends from Philly Sports Guy knows his dad. His dad's an arm wrestling champion and through some kind of event or whatever. This guy's out of West Virginia. And I'll say this. He is I really think if he plays well and win tonight, which I think they will, I think they'll win tonight. You got to think, well, how much more should we evaluate him versus Justin Fields? I think the fan base. Now, we're going into year 3 with Fields. He's already been hurt twice. My thing is talking to guys like John Restano, who is out of the huge Bears fan. Now he's out of the Buffalo area, but he's a huge Bear fan. Always been a Bear fan. A lot of people just want to move off Eberflus and Fields at this point and let Ryan Poles, go out and get another quarterback. Now, he did bring in Eberflus, so that's kind of a strike against him as well. They've got 2 very high first-round draft picks, theirs and the Carolina Panthers. And, of course, Carolina Panthers had the number 1 pick for a while. They won a game. Now Arizona's got it. I'll give you my picks. I think Arizona's going to win Sunday. Kyler Murray's back. I think that they'll probably beat Carolina and have the number 1 pick again. But I tell you what, Fields, either way, I think Fields is probably going to be out here. They'll probably move on. It come down to. Now I haven't heard this or anything, but with the delay of the decision last year when they had the number 1 pick and they traded it and got DJ Moore. By the way, playing against his old team, I think he had a pretty good game today too. Former Carolina Panthers player, especially with those cornerbacks out. But with DJ Moore there and that trade, I think it came down to the last minute to do that. I think that they were really doing some serious discussions and evaluations not to move off of Justin Fields. I really thought so. And now I think they will. Fields not reading defenses, wanting to just run all around all over the place. Do you want to blame the staff? Maybe. They are defensive-minded head coach and staff there. But I do think something will go about at the end of the season here. And my guess is Fields will be brought in if he's not traded, which I think he probably still has some trade value because he's coming into year 4 next year. That's still pretty reasonable. There's some trade bait there, and maybe they bring in another quarterback and compete with all 3. My guess is they'll trade Fields. They'll try to trade him and it'll be like a 5th, or it won't be nothing very high because quarterbacks that are on rookie contracts, they're like brand new cars. That pick is very high. He was picked in the 1st round. When you drive them off the lot, they lose some value. So that's kind of like the Justin Fields situation. Remember, there were some criticisms coming out on Fields about his work ethic issues. People in Ohio State supposedly debunked that. He still gets drafted in the 1st round. Wasn't the 1st overall pick. So we'll have to see how this thing plays out. But either way, my whole point is they probably could have got a whole lot more last year if they would have traded Fields instead of this year. But that's all water under the bridge. They've got 2 first-round picks. They've got the most money. I've talked about Jim Harbaugh. A lot of still war of words going around with the Big Ten, other coaches, with the Big Ten commissioner, and this sign-stealing thing. Maybe Harbaugh comes back to Chicago, place he played 6 years for. Played for the Bears for 6 years. And takes one of these quarterbacks. But I'm going to go over this Caleb Williams story here in a minute. I don't think that he's going to be one of those players, if you ask me. So that's it. Like I said, a little bit of storyline. Tyson Bagent, he's still a long shot, But the more you play, the more film, the more he's going to bring his stock up. So keep an eye on that. So that is actually a good transition. Let's transition to the very likely number 1 pick. I go over this NFL rookie watch. We talked about that in the offseason as this season's went along. Caleb Williams, remaining Heisman Trophy winner. I've been reading stuff that he is compared to the Chiefs' Patrick Mahomes. He's the most talented quarterback under Lincoln Riley. You name it. It's all the press that's come out for him. Now this year, yes, the defense is bad. We've talked about that before in the past with USC. Lincoln Riley's fired his defensive coordinator. His play is just not as good as it. He's somewhat could be more of a backyard type of player. mechanical issues and everything. More criticisms are coming in on him. Still reading that he's still a top draft pick, but there are some speculations there. Keith Engel says he looks like RG3 from Washington. Has that kind of speed, not quite that fast. Probably a little better intermediate thrower of the football. Throws about the same type of deep ball. RG3 could get it way downfield at Baylor. They slung it like nobody's business. And they played a really fast system, a lot like what Tennessee plays now, doing the plays to the sideline and all that. Okay, that being said, story been on, circling around social media. Sports Talk Radio talked about it. You've got the guys at Fox talked about it. Jason Whitlock, who's now independent, he actually said something about it. What happened after the loss? Now, mind you, this is the third loss. This is the third loss of the season for USC. They've already lost. They already got blown out by. Notre Dame. They got beat pretty bad, pretty handily at home by Utah. So they're pretty much out of any kind of playoff. Look at all these teams, folks, that are undefeated. So I'm just trying to get you some type of background here, okay? So this guy, there was some film taken of him at the game jumping like a Lambeau leap into the stands and crying in his mother's arms. But his mom's putting off this like paper over him or something like that. It really looks kind of staged, you know. It looks staged. People have been talking about it. You get WFAN, and you say, well, you want the guy to show the motion, blah, blah, blah. But then listen to what he says. Listen to what he says at the press conference afterwards.
Home and cuddle with my dog and watch some shows. I don't know we lost the game. Something to work hard for throughout months, years, to have big games like this, try and go win, play your best. Each and every one of us. We came out with the loss today. So emotionally, I want to go home and I want to lay with my dog.
Cuddle with your dog and watch some show. What are you, Taylor Swift? You know, there were some reports a few weeks ago that he didn't care enough and blah, blah, blah. Now, mind you, he is one of the first ever college football players to really maximize on NIL. Multi-million-dollar NIL contracts, 3 national commercials here. And, you say, well, crying after a game. Well, Tim Tebow cried when they lost the SEC championship game about 10, 12 years ago to Alabama. I remember that. Michael Jordan, he cried after winning the NBA championship, first one without his dad. A lot of emotion built up with that. I've seen Dirk Nowitzki. He was tears of joy when he finally got his championship back in 2010, beating LeBron. But this right here, this is a loss in the middle of the season. You're doing that. Then you do this Taylor Swift things. Then you do this Taylor Swift deal like you're going to go cuddle with your dog and watch TV. That sounds like Hillary Clinton when she lost the election back in 2016. What are you acting there? He sounds like, USC, Hollywood. Are you auditioning for movies or something? Not to mention, this guy's painting his nails black. You're saying, well, Robert, you're really judging this guy. You know what? Say, for instance, the guy is gay or whatever. The players around him, all they want to do is win and get their money as far as NFL and everything. They want to be successful. But players and quarterbacks, they're judged on leadership. They're judged on how to handle adversity. You know, for instance, look at Jalen Hurts, for example. Jalen Hurts was demoted in front of 18 million people. He was benched at the SEC or at the national championship game at halftime for a freshman named Tua. We know what happened in that. I mean, Tua comes in, couple big throws, wins a national championship. This guy takes it like a soldier. Gives dap to Tua. Thanks Nick Saban for the opportunity after the season. Did walk out. He didn't pull a Stephon Diggs. He transferred. He transferred to Oklahoma. Got his stock back up a little bit. Still fell to the second round. Still fell. Played under the same guy. And it worked his way up. And he was playing at MVP level last year. Just signed a massive contract. Gets to the Super Bowl. Takes it like it is. So it's either two things here. You're either probably need to see some kind of sports psychologist because he's losing his confidence. I just talked about Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was never right after he injured his tore his ACL, whatever, when he was about to win the MVP with Philadelphia back in 2016, 2007. He was about to win the MVP, but he was never right after that. And it rubbed a lot of teammates the wrong way. And he bounced around the league. Just now got picked up as a backup for the LA Rams. So it's either he is got those issues or he's playing up to Bill Brand. Either way, that is not a good look. I'm not saying that I would totally eliminate him, but I'm mention the fact that he is a Lincoln Riley guy. The last two first overall picks that Lincoln Riley coached up, won the Heisman. Baker Mayfield, total bust. I told you that. By the way, Baker Mayfield, I think Tennessee will beat them. I'll go over my games against the spread here in a little bit. I think by next week, maybe the week after, Kyle Trask, they'll be playing him. And Kyler Murray is going to come back this weekend. Has had injury problems, been underwhelming. They had to put in something in his contract for him to study more, liked his talent. Still underwhelming overall as a player. Did enough to get that second contract with that system. Now they're trying to move him out. That's what I'm seeing from Arizona. So that's a strike against him. You've got the stuff. Is he brand building or is he flaky? Either one doesn't look good. You know, Bill Parcells says, I don't want a celebrity quarterback. You know, I don't want a celebrity. And I look at it now. He can correct it. His dad's involved in his life. His dad spoke out for him, saying that he's wouldn't go to certain teams and all that. So there's a lot of stuff going on here. There's some sense of entitlement there, even though he's not directly stating this stuff. Talking about the report is he wanted to own part of a team, which that legally cannot be done from everything we hear and read. That cannot be done. You can't own the team while you're playing on the team. According to that report came out a few weeks ago. Then the dad says, well, there's certain teams he'll just go back in and play there. So you got that. And then you got this that looks totally staged and rehearsed, or it looks like he's having some kind of meltdown. So all of it doesn't really, well, he says throw up on your own time, but also Parcells says, I don't want a celebrity quarterback. You know, I want a good quarterback that's good, but we don't want a celebrity quarterback, you know, one that draws that kind of attention to it. So it's another strike against him. It's not as bad as not studying at all, like Johnny Manziel. It's not a substance abuse that we know of. It's not a substance abuse issue but sounds like a guy that maybe can handle this type of spotlight here. But he's got so much hype on him. And here's another thing. This is what, if I'm his dad, I'm telling him, listen, man, the greatest prospect of all time out of college. We know you're a high prospect, but the greatest prospect of all, John Elway never got to a bowl game at Stanford. Never got to a bowl game at Stanford. So this is why I don't know why you're crying, dude. This team has been giving up 45 points a game. That's why I think it's somewhat staged. Why would you be upset knowing he can't play defense? It's not on him that they're giving up 45, 52 points a game in this last game. They just recently fired their defensive coordinator. So it just seems fishy for a guy of this caliber to act this particular way. Okay? So that's a story to monitor. Caleb Williams is a story to monitor. Pickle says it's Southern Cal soft, you know. How many players actually turned out to be good from Southern Cal that were hyped up while at Southern Cal? I mean, Matt Leinart, Matt Barkley. Barkley was okay. He's a backup, though. Palmer was good, but he never quite got to the level that everybody thought he was. He played great before his injury. He was okay. Sanchez won a few playoff games. Maybe you could say maybe he got with a bad defensive-minded head coach in Rex Ryan. I don't know. But a lot of those guys, John David Booty, he was hyped up. Didn't do nothing. I mean, most of them vastly. Sam Darnold, vastly underachieved. They look great in that uniform. You know, Pac-12, not the hardest defensive conference in the world. Now, great quarterback play, but not the toughest defense in the world. So it's hard to it's hard to argue with that comment there, Pickles. Poor them. And yeah, he says he's making millions. So that is the you got that national spotlight. He's got that NIL money. So this is the first real test. How much does a player want to be great, even though now I'll say this. Other players have had little issues. I mean, we're only human, right? Last year, there was first month of the season, Joe Burrow. You guys know how much I love Joe Burrow. He transferred as well, remember? He was hanging out with I think Jack Harlow's the guy's name, some young rapper guy. I'm not really familiar with a lot of these new rappers. Some of them, man, but not a lot of them like I was growing up. And he was starting to look like a celebrity quarterback. Some of the heat got back to him. Dad started hearing that. Then he totally gets off social media. He takes all those pictures down with the fur coat and all that. He was doing a little bit of Joe Namath thing. And then the last I've heard of him, they were talking about on Sunday Night Football, the guy goes to bed during the football season, 8 o'clock at night. So you want the square quarterback. You, like Parcells says, do not be a celebrity quarterback. That's why it became an issue when Jimmy Garoppolo was dating porn stars. It's not the fact that he was dating porn stars. It was the fact that he was in high-end paparazzi type of area club in Beverly Hills, and everybody knew about it. And a lot of people starting to get questions around the organization from the 49ers, and the stuff becomes a distraction. You know, it becomes a distraction. So, yeah. You don't play the victim here. That's not the NFL. That is not the NFL. You know, the NFL is next man up. Another Parcells said, listen, when you leave that huddle, you don't know who's going to get in. Don't feel sorry for you. This is a man's league. He told that to Curtis Martin. Curtis Martin took that to heart. He's like, shoot, I ain't never leaving that huddle. Now, the flip side is maybe you might get a serious, concussion and it may get bad, but sometimes you got to save these guys from themselves, right? So, interesting little story to follow as we go through the draft process. If it's me, if I'm him, I go on to the NFL. I'll go on to the NFL and try to earn my keep that way, and try to just focus in on my craft. Everything works out when you win. See Patrick Mahomes. He don't have to worry about money no more. Okay? All righty then. Points against the spread. All right. Now, last week, let me double check here. I don't do this. I got one more college story I'll go back to. And, so like I said, the big loss last week was Atlanta. You've heard me ad nauseum talk about that. Minnesota brings in Josh. Well, I think if they would have kept, and going back to Minnesota, Atlanta last week, the Vikings versus Falcons in my points against the spread, if they keep the rookie in, if Atlanta doesn't knock that rookie out, I think they win going away. Dobbs never sees the field. Yeah, we know what happened. That's water under the bridge. That one was a loss. The Giants, total loss there. I should have known when you first get a new interim coach, a lot of times the teams play above their head. Totally off there. Got blown out there. But I was right about Cincinnati, -1.5 against Buffalo on Sunday night. And, of course, let's see. But Baltimore just totally destroyed. Baltimore -6 at home against Seattle. People are like, I don't know about that. Well, they played Seattle, 37-3 here. Keep that one in mind here. Also, and so I threw in a bonus one. I can't find out which one that one was. And the bonus one was Houston against Tampa. Houston did win, but they did cover. So essentially, the rough week last week, 2-3, still doing really well for the year. If you watch the show every week, I think it was 5-0 last week or something like that. So kind of makes up for it. So anyways, going into this week, I'm sitting there messed up here. I had last week's notes. I had to go back to this week. All right. Now, this week. Okay. NFL points against the spread. Now, going back up the Vikings. Now, the Vikings got to go back home. They're going to be playing the Saints this weekend. They'll be playing the Saints this weekend. Dobbs will get to start again. All right. Now, you think, wow, I don't know. Dobbs looks good, man. He made the big plays against Atlanta. What's wrong with you, Robert? He's going to kick your butt again. Listen, I love Josh Dobbs, man. The only University of Tennessee game I ever seen in my life was Tennessee, Florida, 2016. Josh Dobbs, junior there, and might have been a senior, actually. He was a senior. Great team. They come back. Great comeback there. 21 points down. Has a great game in the second half. Beats Florida. Love Josh Dobbs. Love him as a person. Always thought he hasn't got the right opportunity in the NFL. This kind of got drafted to the wrong place at the wrong time and kind of made his way. That being said, Cam Newton last year, or it may have been the year before that, makes no difference, was called up like Dobbs was, right? Called up back to Carolina. Called back to Carolina. They go on the road and beat a really good Arizona team, right? He does a lot of running with the football, scores a couple goal line touchdowns, makes a couple reads there, and they beat Arizona, a very good Arizona team at that time, And the next week, I remember my dad talking to him about the next week we take him, and he couldn't connect with any receivers, and he was horrible the next week, Pickles, if you recall that game. And they actually went to another quarterback. You can see he's not with Carolina, right? So he was horrible the next week. I don't know if Josh Dobbs will be air quote horrible, but now that you got a week with what he does with Minnesota, a lot more speed on the New Orleans defense there. Cam Jordan, those guys, and he's gonna have to throw more. The chemistry's not quite going to be there. What it was catching Atlanta in the middle of the game off guard. I've seen this before. Okay, the Saints are minus 2.5. The Saints go up there, get the win, okay, 23-19, and they cover the 2.5. That's not really a big score, I know. But I do think the Saints will go up there and get the win. Dobbs kind of comes back down to earth and plays like a guy that's been in the system for 2 weeks. But either way, Derek Carr and the Saints there, they keep it rolling, and they take advantage of the NFC South even that much more. Okay, back to Atlanta. Okay, Atlanta is a 1.5 favorite at Arizona. Okay, now Arizona, this is 2 weeks back for Kyler Murray. He'd been activated for a few weeks, but he's actually going to play this week. And I looked at what Jonathan Gannon done, and I wanted to make sure what was he trying to do offensively, just because he was the defense coordinator of Philadelphia. And I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, well, he's a defensive coordinator of Philadelphia. Is he going to carry that Philly offense? Is he going to carry that Philly offense with him to Arizona? And the answer is, everything I see, it looked pretty familiar. So, again, I think Atlanta, they're going to be a little bit shell-shocked again. They got to go to Arizona. They got to go to Phoenix. And not only that, there's a very good chance, more than a good, it may already been put in, but James Conner's likely going to play too. So this is Kyler Murray's first game back. Atlanta is going to be the last game they played here a few weeks ago. Before this trade, Arizona, they played Baltimore tough. Baltimore, the hottest team in the league. Lamar Jackson against the NFC. We talked about it. 16-1, 17, now 18-1, right? So they had to hang on at the end. It was a 7-point game. It was 8.5 point spread. Arizona beat the spread. Now Arizona's only a 1.5 underdog. Arizona gets the outright win. Murray's trying to get his stock back up. They're going to be, that defense is going to be on the road. They're going to be off kilter. The Arizona defense is quicker than people think. Plus, there's injuries there. I don't know if Drake London's even going to play. It means no, never mind, even if he does. Arizona at home. Remember, this team beat the Cowboys. They beat the Cowboys earlier this year at home. Big emotional game. Atlanta coming off that game, going on the road. Arizona gets the actual outright win. And 27-19, Atlanta falls again, and people start to question Arthur Smith and his leadership as the head coach there, even though they're going to need a quarterback. I mean, I know that Heineke's okay, not too bad, and it's definitely not Desmond Ridder. They're going to be one of those teams. They really want to go out and get a quarterback here in this upcoming draft. And this loss that they're going to get Sunday to Arizona is going to be one of the reasons why. Okay, now, some of you might say, man, you are riding this Baltimore train in the ground. And you might be right. Baltimore will be playing at home. Baltimore will be playing at home to the Browns. Now, I understand the Browns got a really good defense. Who was it? What is this guy's name? Oh, God. Defense coordinator. Schultz or whatever. Coordinator for Cleveland says, yeah, we made some big mistakes. We're going to try to correct that. We'll see how and that's fine. That's fine. Schultz or whatever. But my thing is, left tackle's out. Derek Willis on IR. Don't know how long he's going to be out for Cleveland. The right tackle's been out. Jack Conklin, he's been out for a while. And Deshaun Watson's like, I'm still kind of working my – so I'm thinking only way Cleveland even got a shot in this game is they're going to have to get rid of it real quick, and that defense is going to have to play way over its head. To their potential, they are playing great. The Browns defense. Now, they gave up 27, but remember, they also had a rookie quarterback, Darrell Green-Thompson, there. They had the rookie quarterback there. Cleveland in Baltimore. This will be played in Baltimore. Watson without both tackles. Last year, Baltimore had a bunch of injuries, played in Cleveland. Cleveland beat them like 13-0. Kind of a boring game. But they had a backup quarterback in. They had some injuries on defense. And they still hung tight with Cleveland. But it's a 6-point game. With those 2 tackles out, Watson's going to be careful. He's going to take care of himself. He's not going to get crazy and get knocked out of this game. He knows he's got a lot of football left. Cleveland's got a lot. Cleveland would still be in the playoffs if they won this week. Okay? But Baltimore being at home, -6. I like Baltimore to get that 7 points, folks. I'm sorry. That's too. They lead the league in sacks, which means they have worked on their pass rush. Roquan Smith, healthy Marlon Humphrey. It's just you got all that in sync parts there, and one team's very healthy and another team is not. It's on the road, so I do think that the Ravens will win this game, and they will cover. They will cover this 23-13. The Browns play tough. This is not going to be a total blowout, but they cover that 6. They win by 7 points here, and the Ravens win at home and still keep their hot streak alive. Okay? All right. Now, just talked about the Tampa Bay Bucks a minute ago, right? Totally not sold on Baker. They had a pretty good game there against Houston. Now, I'll say that. But Baker Mayfield's numbers wasn't that great. At 2 touchdowns, still lost the game, right? They're going at home against Tennessee, and Tennessee's actually a 1.5 underdog. And I'm looking, Carlton Davis, good chance he doesn't play. Got some injuries there. Baker Mayfield, just total slug back there. Cannot get away. Tennessee, by the way, I read Christian Fulton the last 3 games gave up 47 points to the number 1 receiver to each team there, including George Pickens on the road on a short week for Tennessee. So Tennessee's front 7, they're going to be all over Tampa. This ain't going to be a pretty game. But Tennessee can win this game. They will win this game. Like I said, they would beat Atlanta a few weeks ago. And there's a chance Vita Vita, he might not, even if Vita Vita does play. Okay? I'm saying this rookie quarterback, even with Will Levis there, I think Tennessee's got a lot of good matchups on the outside, had a little bit more time to prepare. I think Tampa's slide, the weather's not going to be an issue. Tennessee's front 7 is going to be all over that line of Tampa. This is not going to be a pretty game, probably under 40, but I'm saying 2016, Tennessee will beat Tampa. They'll go down there. By the way, Lil Levis, if you haven't been watching, he's been named the starter throughout, okay? Even if he has a turnover or 2. I do not think they're going to capitalize on it with Tampa. I think Mayfield's going in the other direction. And again, Kyle Trask, he'll probably be named starter in another week or so for Tampa. Tennessee will get the win, and they'll cover that. So I really like that. A lot of people's not going to take that game, but Tennessee will manhandle these NFC teams. Okay, now the Chargers. Big win. Go on Monday night. Go across the country. played the Jets, pretty physical game, got a good win though, right? 27, what they win? 27-6, played really well. Now they come home on a short week. And this Lions team, folks, got David Montgomery back and Jabari Gibbs together and Jameis Williams with Alamon St. Brown. I was looking at their injuries report, a lack thereof it. This is the healthiest they had, included week 1 when they beat Kansas City at Kansas City. This is the health. They're healthier now. They're more complete now than they were in week 1 because Williams was out because of the gambling issue, right? Well, he's been back for weeks now. They're coming off a bye week. There's a good chance they could have more fans there because Detroit's an old school team. There's some Detroit guys that will probably be in that stadium, Pickles. A lot of Midwest people move out to LA for work or whatever. Detroit will beat them. They will be. They are. I want to say they're 3-point underdogs. Yeah, I'll take Detroit +3 because I think I'll get the win outright. They will beat the Chargers. 27-24. Detroit gets the outright win here. So I like Detroit over. Like I said, they're underdogs. Take the +3 if you want to, but plus, by the way, Jared Goff. LA guy, used to play with the Rams, played at Cal, may have some family there, right? So Goff's going to be comfortable, played in that stadium before, whatever. So Lions, love that Lions pick. Tennessee +1.5. Love Tennessee there. Baltimore -6. Sounds a little heavy, but when you're playing that defense with backup offensive line and injuries like that, it could be a long day. They get that 7 points there. And let me make sure. Okay, who else to have? Saints, 2.5, -2.5. Yeah, they go on the road. They get the win at Minnesota. And Arizona at home, they're getting 1.5. I'll take Arizona. Take Arizona there at home there because they're going to get the outright win over Atlanta. Sometimes you just got to go by a feel for how teams play at home, injuries with the other team, stuff like that, motivation, you name it. Teams playing short weeks. I tell you, it happens that way all the time in the NFL. Okay. Oh, yeah, another NFL story here. Now, I've been talking about Ron Rivera. Another coach somewhat on the hot seat. Got a good win last week, over Bill Belichick, Keith Angle, which I need to clip that and put it out too. He thinks that possibly, because of that loss last week, the Colts play in, I don't know, was it Germany? They play one of those overseas, London, whatever. They play the Patriots there. He thinks that maybe Belichick could be fired after that game. I hope not, but either way, it was because this Commander team beat them. Now, the criticisms on the Commanders is Sam Howell, most sacked quarterback in the league. But this Rookie Watch site I follow, they did put some very interesting stats out here. NFL Rookie Watch, what it calls. It says Sam Howell, which not really, he's a second-year player, but the first year with Eric Bieniemy, okay, first full season, right? Sam Howell may officially be the best quarterback of the 2022 draft class. It's not particularly close. Howell currently has more completions than any quarterback in the NFL, more passing yards than any quarterback in the NFL besides Tua, more passing touchdowns this season than Kenny Pickett has his whole career. And Pickens played all last year, right? Remember, he only played one game last year, and they beat the Cowboys, the Commanders. And then it notes he's doing it all while being the most sacked quarterback in the league. 44 sacks on this guy. Just 3 quarterbacks from the 2022 class remain starters. Kenny Pickett, Brock Purdy. It's saying that the 5th round pick looks most complete of all of them. Now, so maybe pass beside. That's what Jim said. Jeffcoat, former Jim Jeffcoat, who worked at Colorado, has some connection there. He's been a guest on the program. I worked with him on the Mac and Jack and Jim Jeffcoat's show. Says that he has some issues off the field, personal issues that go back to his Colorado days, Eric Bieniemy. But that being said, he has been a coordinator for like 10 years. And that's what I said. I thought it was a good move that he was that coordinator for 10 years under Andy Reid. I thought he had to learn something. He had to learn something, you know? Okay, so what if the Commanders come up just short, or maybe they get a wild card, something of that nature, just build that line back up. It's supposed to be about 4 tackles in this draft. This could save Ron Rivera. I think he's still one to be fired. Either way, Bieniemy would be one of the first to get hired, to get interviewed. You know, he'd be a Rooney Rule, black guy. He would be a Rooney Rule interview. And if you look at Howell's play, maybe they just make him head coach. I don't know. Maybe they just keep Ron Rivera for another year or so. But he can't be getting sacked like this, Sam Howell. So they're going to have to do something about tackle. They're playing against the Eagles every two games with Jalen Carter, a dominant defensive tackle, and Hassan Reddick. It is a well of a pass rush, not to mention playing the Cowboys and Micah Parsons here. And, of course, the Giants, who beat them earlier this year, which really turned me off to Ron Rivera. I swore they would beat the Giants. The Giants match up well with them. Those interdivision games are fist fights and foot races. You know, they get destroyed in their secondary. Washington does. But Sam Howell is a bright spot. Eric Bieniemy, Washington Commander fans, is a bright spot in that offense. They just got to tighten up their pass blocking, and we'll see what happens there. But it's a bottom line lead. You've got a new owner there. They always want to make their own stamp there. We don't even know if he's going to, this Josh Harris guy, who also owns the Philadelphia set, you just don't know what he's going to do. You know, he likes to make big splashes. He brought Daryl Morey over from to run the 76ers. I think Morey's overrated, but that's a different story. That makes for a different show. But that is a story to monitor. The Sam Howell play, despite getting the heck knocked out of him, it's got really good numbers, folks. So anyways, going over other screenshots. By the way, T. Higgins, great game last week. Looks like he is out Sunday for Cincinnati, but Jamar Chase is going to be back. So they play the Texans. That'll be an interesting game. You got Stroud, former Ohio State player, playing against a former Ohio State player, transfer there. Keep an eye on that game. I still like Cincinnati in that game. We might talk about that one tomorrow as a breakdown. Either way, there was something interesting I wanted to talk to you. Okay, here we go. Deion Sanders here, channeling his inner Buddy Ryan. Buddy Ryan is Rex Ryan's dad for some of you younger fans here. Some of you younger fans don't know who Rex Ryan is, and Rob Ryan. Used to be the head coach of the Jets. Buddy Ryan used to be the coach of the Phillies in the 90s, early 90s. And he was also the coordinator for the 85 Bears, you know. And he encouraged fighting. He encouraged fighting in practice, you know. Now Don Shula, legendary coach at Miami, he'd find you for it. Go the opposite direction. Remember, I've had Jim Jeffcoat on the program. He said Jimmy Johnson. I don't know if Jim was joking or not. I think he was serious, but he says it was in his contract. If practice was low, that Jimmy look at it. Hey man, you need to maybe start a fight or something. We got to get the guys' blood pumping a little bit. We're kind of sleepwalking out here. But Deion says believes Colorado players fighting in practice is a great thing. He said they got to play Arizona this week, and they're getting close to maybe not even getting in the bowl game. They're still stuck at 4 wins, and I think they've only got 2 games to go, and one of them's against Arizona, who's ranked. But they may beat Arizona. But Deion says he believes Colorado's fighting in practice is a great thing. He said, we had a great week of practice. We had a couple fights, which I liked. It's a great thing. I always want to know who won because I keep records. I don't break them up. Some coaches break them up. I don't. Some guys fight hoping for the breakup. No, we're just going to let you go. I love it. Didn't like that. You want to break the fights up, The reason why I say that is the flip side to that is they're the most penalized team in the country. That shows lack of self-control. Now, trust me, I was a guy bullied a lot, learned how to stick up for myself, didn't mind fighting. Once I figured it out, that a lot of these bullies hadn't got their butt kicked, and whether I pick up an object or just fight it out with me, if they kick my butt, I knew that they would, not want to fight me again per se, because they didn't want to get the embarrassment. Pickles thinks it fuels a competition, but it can get out of hand. It can get out of hand, and part of that could, I was watching that. Which is really good, by the way. Again, I'm not a Florida fan. If anything, I'm a Florida hater, right? But growing up at university, but I don't care. I just call balls and strikes, okay? And that Florida Swamp Kings, which is awesome. I don't care what the critics say. That was a great documentary. 4-part documentary, Netflix on University of Florida, Urban Meyer's. This player said, man, going down there playing for Urban Meyer at Florida, he said, man, that was like going to Iraq or something, man. And this other guy, their strength and conditioning coach, and I think it was Charlie Strong, who later became a coach. These were hardcore exercises. They were doing some kind of leg holding up the exercise when everybody's on the ground, and this rookie or this freshman comes in there late, and they had to start over because he came in late. All the other players are in this gym doing this type of I don't know what do you call it, exercise or whatever, some type of weird stretch. But anyways, and you're supposed to hold your feet up for a certain amount of time, whatever. And he's dropped, and when he dropped, everybody had to start it all over again. This guy had already came in late, and he's screwing up their little obstacle, whatever, exercise, whatever, training thing. And this junior defensive lineman said, man, if you drop that thing, because he did it twice, and he was late, so he had 3 strikes on him, I'm going to punch you in your face if you do that one more time. And he did, and he punched that kid. And nobody said anything. He just punched him right in his face. And that's a form of bullying, a hazing. But apparently the guy didn't drop his. He didn't mess up their exercise afterwards. But as far as fighting in practice, I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe a few shoves, I might let that go, but no brawls or nothing like it. Because if you're brawling too much, then you're not concentrating. That's my thing on it. You're not concentrating. But maybe we'll see. But I'll say this. A lot of people's been down on them here lately. Rightfully so. Rightfully so. By the way, they did get some of their stuff back. They had some jewelry stolen. The Pasadena police, they have some teenagers, of course, go figure. I don't know how they got in there. I didn't read. They didn't say. But they got some of their stuff back. That they played against UCLA, and Got some players got jewelry stolen. Some of it got recovered. From what I read a few days ago. Anyways, considering the fact that he threw this team together, I thought they would win maybe 7 games, 8 games. But after I got to watching them and watching how good the competition was this year, the Pac-12 it's the best it's been ever, maybe ever, as far as the quality of quarterback play, the teams, the depth. I mean, it's just a lot of veteran players, veteran teams, veteran coaches playing really well, okay, especially offensively. They have covered a lot of these spreads. You know, Oregon State was killing people. They covered the spread against UCLA at UCLA. Oregon State, they covered that spread, okay. TCU in the national championship game last year, they're mediocre compared to what they were last year. They won that game, you know, beat Nebraska, kind of talked themselves into a letdown of a game in that Colorado State game. And I want to say they beat Arizona State. They may, but I got a feeling they're going to play Arizona pretty tight this week. They may beat them. I want to say it's in Colorado, per se. But, you know, we'll see how this Deion Sanders thing's worked out. I think he should walk that back, going back to what he says, let them fight it all out, not break it up. This ain't hockey. I think that's stupid, by the way. I mean, no offense, my hockey friends. I mean, it's 2023. Don't let. By the way, there was a guy that got killed in a hockey. Did you hear about that, Pickles? I didn't even talk about that story because it was in another country, but a player in a hockey rink did like a karate kick on the ice, Pickles, to another hockey player in the UK. And I'm sure John can explain this. John Rostano, if you're out there, brother, kicks this guy in the neck with the hockey, what it looked like, anyways, from what I could see, with a skate, a hockey skate. The guy bleeds to death. He dies. The guy hasn't, this was about a week ago. I don't know if he's been charged with murder, but investigators are looking at it right now. You know, investigators are looking at that. I think they should not let people fight in hockey. You know, let's just have some more civilization. I mean, if it's that bad, you need to change the sport up, but you have to have fight. Now, I ain't saying not be physical, you know, hits it. But I do think that they need to break all the fights up. Don't sit there and let people punch it out. These are grown men. These ain't kids, you know. And after that incident, maybe they should change it. Because it was in the UK, it wasn't in the NHL. But the guy did die, you know. The hockey player did die, Pickles. Did you see about that? Manslaughter was trending last week with that. That's the word that was trending with that hockey accident. So that's my thing about fighting. You know, so, man, you're going to run assault. No, I don't want to be an idiot. There's a thin line between tough and moronic. You know, I used to think it was tough to go out and try to deal with snow and ice and, you know, go through, make it to work. Now I realize there's a thin line. There's a sucker to do that stuff. You have a wreck that the deductible is usually more than you can make. And if you go out there and get killed, you'll be replaced in a week. So we'll see how that plays out. He's made a lot of mistakes this year. He knows he's made a lot of mistakes, Deion. I think he's going to iron them out and be okay. But you can kind of see the hype kind of going down on him. I do think he'll come back next year. Everything I read, Schroeder's going to stay. Sanders, the son, will stay next year because Hunter's going to stay. And I think they'll probably win about 7 or 8 next year because he's going to do everything legally he can to go out and get the best offensive lineman through transfer portal that he can. He's going to like nobody's business. He'll have Travis Hunter there. He'll have his son Schroeder there playing. They'll win 7 or 8 games. He'll probably get an offer at one of these SEC schools, maybe Florida, right? Depends on how well he plays. Maybe Schroeder wins the Heisman next year. Schroeder, I think, can play in the NFL. Every game I've seen him play, he got a little greedy in some cases, but He reads defense as well. He gets rid of the ball. He's worked with Tom Brady. You could tell, too. You could tell. But, he's never not played for his dad. So it's an interesting story to follow. He's still rated pretty high. They're going to win. They've already won 4 games. Maybe they'll win 5, beat Arizona next week. It seemed like they got somebody pretty tough after that. But either way, maybe like Utah or somebody. And we know how good Utah is. But all those penalties, he's got to clean up them penalties. He's got to fix their offensive line stuff. Well, you clean up penalties by that's a discipline thing. Well, sometimes you got to be disciplined not to fight in practice. So that's one of them things. And he's watched his mouth. I mean, he's sitting there fueling stuff, bringing up stuff about the coach, saying that he don't say nothing about nobody, but then he does say something about him after the game. Yeah, he did this to my son during the recruiting trip, and we made it personal. Remember that and all that. So that being said, he'll never admit he made a mistake, but I think he'll clean up some of this stuff. And then again, he might not. His son may end up going to the NFL, and he may quit. Jason Whitlock saying he's like one of those peewee coaches, man, just getting his sons a shine, and then as soon as they get to where he wants them to go in the NFL or whatever, then he steps away. But we'll see. It's never add fuel. Yeah, you talk them up. Don't go the other way. But either way, if you guys like the show, share the show. Tomorrow I'll be back with Carlos Mad New Yorker Chavez. We'll go over this week's biggest games, and I'm pretty sure there's some big ones there. Detroit will probably be in that one too. Detroit and the LA Chargers, considering the fact that they're both very much in the playoff race, to name a few. So we'll go over that with him tomorrow. Have a good night, everybody. I'll see you same time, same place here on Sports School.